I typed in feminism, and the first 4 videos that came up were anti-feminist, including...
Definitely go watch this video in its entirety, but the basic gist is this woman set up a social experiment to frame herself as a young man on social media with an interest in understanding feminism, not from a negative standpoint. However, the algorithm showed her all red pill and anti-feminist content in response. Also have been a number of social experiments in the past and even investigative journalism into the type of content that men receive as soon as they sign up, which has been found to be incredibly misogynistic. The difference is she was framing it as wanting to understand feminism, not from any sort of negative place at all. In Australia, we've passed legislation, so it will be illegal to access social media under 16. I don't know where I stand on this currently. I need to educate myself more on this issue. However, things like this do point me in the direction of thinking that that is a positive thing. Everything is political. This isn't a fucking surprise. We already know who owns these big social media companies as well as who the major shareholders are. And these are the same people creating these algorithms. And we also know where these people sit politically because they are vocal about that. The original creator suggests that there should be laws governing these algorithms, which I 100% agree with. However, I do not know how that would work and how difficult that would be to put in place considering the political landscape in America at this time. Because these are international companies, obviously in Australia, I believe we have no say over any of this and we can only regulate users in Australia to these apps. Correct me if I'm wrong. The overarching issue is that more and more young, impressionable boys and girls are seeking to social media to find answers to questions instead of using search engines, for instance. And search engines also have algorithms, but those algorithms don't go to preferential content or content with an agenda. Those algorithms focus on the quality of the websites providing the content. As I said previously, search engines can absolutely get it wrong and websites can have inaccurate information on those websites. However, the algorithms do not intend to only show you one particular type of content. They try to show you the best answer to your question based on all the content on the internet in that area, if that makes sense. This could change because who the fuck knows at this point? Opposed to social media algorithms, which clearly show content based on different measures, such as what the woman did in her social experiment and the type of content she was receiving by typing in feminism. Should be a concern to everybody because the byproduct of misogyny being taught the norm is gender-based violence and more young girls and women losing their lives. According to experts, the leading way to reduce a young boy turning into a violent man is to have a proactive father figure at home and to have these conversations with your kids ongoingly and continue to educate them in this area. I don't know if there are any other solutions, but I'd love to open a dialogue about it, so please feel free to comment any suggestions.
Because feminism essentially controlled the narrative in online spaces for a solid decade, the algorithm is now swinging hard in the opposite direction. People are finally starting to speak up about the damage this caused. Broken families, a deep divide between genders, men being constantly told they're the issue, and women being told they don't need anyone. The result? Everyone seems miserable.
Okay, here's why more and more young women are rejecting feminism and just do not want to be associated with it at all. I think these younger generations have really, really good BS detectors. So on its face, feminism sounds great, right? Equality for all and girls supporting girls. That sounds so beautiful. But the second you kind of test that out, you very quickly find that it has just become a total facade. If I'm putting on makeup for my husband to come home from work, or if I'm cooking for him, they get upset. They don't like that. Whoever the head of PR is for feminism needs to be fired. They are doing a horrible job because almost all of their representatives who are outspoken, they just seem so miserable, so hateful, so bitter. It doesn't look fun at all. Nothing about that sounds appealing. I think that's why we're starting to see the trad wife stuff on TikTok is because people are so sick of the other side, so done with the angry, man-hating, putting women down. Ugh, it's boring. It's old. We're done with it. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like other women on social media. You can call everybody names and be upset, but just don't pretend that you support other women because you don't. And a lot of people are seeing right through it.
The thing that pisses me most off about the whole concept of feminism is that people think that it is anti-men.
Yeah.
And it's actually, if you're for women's rights, then you're a feminist. You don't have to be a woman to be a feminist. In fact, we actually need more men to be feminists.
Yeah.
So maybe it's because it has the word feminine. People think oh,
yeah.
we don't want to touch that. I have a girlfriend who she was oh, I'm not a feminist, but, and I was sorry, well, stop talking about, I said, what did you just say? And she said, I'm not a feminist. I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, yeah, I'm not, I don't have hairy armpits. Like, I was like, babe, like, do you understand? And I went on my Google and I was like, do you understand what feminism means? It means you are pro women's rights. And she was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely pro women's rights. This is a woman who's a CEO of a business, like multi-million-dollar business.
Oh, wow.
She is like a beast, like stunning, beautiful, really feminine, but an absolute animal. Like, and she's standing there going, I'm not a feminist, because in her kind of mind, she doesn't relate to like the way that is portrayed. And I was just like, wow, like we need to rebrand this concept.
The version of feminism we see today has absolutely nothing to do with what the movement originally stood for.
Ladies, listen up. Feminism is not about equality anymore. It's about tearing down men and stripping women of their true power. The original idea of feminism was about giving women equal rights, the ability to vote, work, and have a voice. But somewhere along the way, it turned toxic. Modern feminism today tells women to hate men, reject families, and act like the very thing they claim to be fighting against. And here's the truth. Feminism didn't make women stronger. It made them miserable. It convinced women that being feminine is weak, that being nurturing, loving, and wanting a husband and kids somehow makes you less. That is not strength. That is pure confusion. Femininity is powerful. A feminine woman knows how to elevate her man, create peace in her home, and stand firm in her values without trying to be a man. Feminism breeds resentment. Femininity creates harmony, and that's the difference that nobody wants to admit. Ladies, you do not gain power by competing with the guys. You gain power by being fully feminine and letting men lead where they are meant to lead. Feminism destroyed that truth. Femininity restores it. And if that offends you, maybe that's the wake-up call that you need.
Once women accept a man's true nature, it's incredibly freeing. Like this comment is saying, and it's on a video where I'm talking about men, most men, not all men, are inherently cruel, and women need to understand that. Once women understand that, you can then move accordingly. You can then, as a woman, decenter men and do it without any guilt. You can deconstruct all of that patriarchal conditioning that you have been fed from the moment you could walk, probably even before that. You can start living life completely for yourself, unapologetically, with no shame and no guilt, because most men are inherently cruel. And thus, why would you live a life centered around the needs of someone who does not care about you? Understanding and really getting it down deep into your soul that most men are inherently cruel frees you from the obligation of, if he would just be nicer, if he would just smile more, if he would just try harder to meet his needs, because you understand that his needs are unmeetable. It's not because of something you're not doing or you're doing too much of. No matter what, there's always going to be this undercurrent of cruelty, this need that some men, not all men, have to always harm, hurt, and subjugate women. When you understand this, you completely take yourself out of their little cruel, sick game. You take yourself out of the cage and you fly free like a bird.
The idea that men are fundamentally cruel is precisely why so many people are disengaging from current gender discussions. No man is born evil, and labeling half the human population as inherently flawed breeds resentment. It doesn't lead to any real progress or healing. That's it for this video, guys. Help us grow by subscribing to the channel. Drop your thoughts down below and don't forget to leave a like as well. See you next time.